guys, and welcome to another deload stream. I hope you are all well. It's been a bit of a manic weekend, hasn't it? And it's not been the best week for FPL points generally. David will be joining us in just a second, but just want to give some shout outs to a couple of people already in the chat. So welcome to John Tyner, hope you're good. We've got Hoxton and FPL Reaction, who usually does the stream with myself but was unable to be on screen this week. So we have the lovely David Munday stepping in, and actually that sounds like a perfect time to get David in. So hey David buddy, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. I'm one of a few rare people that seems to have not had a horrible game week, so I will try really hard not to.
Of all the weeks to get you on.
I know, I'm really well. I've timed it well, clearly.
You have.
I mean, and I managed to do it in a week where, get this, I captained Ishmael Assar. So, you know, more on that later, I'm sure. But
yes,
yeah, I feel
do
very
have your
relieved.
team ready and raring to go. But we'll chat a little bit about the old Kings of the Game Week first before we get there. But yeah.
But, hey, it's an international break, so it's a nice time to take a chill pill for a lot of people. It's the perfect time to have a bad game, because when you go into an international break, you can detox a little bit, take a step back. That's what I'm doing. I've got a few projects on in international break. My new book is coming out next month, so I'm kind of focusing on that for a little bit, because the thing is, when you're an author and you write books, you're in control of the chaos.
Yes.
And that feels a hell of a lot more comfortable than when you're not in control of the chaos, which is basically what FPL is like. So it's a welcome switch of a change of pace, I should say, for me at the moment.
Yeah. So what's the book about, buddy?
So it's book 2 in a series that I brought out was it April 2020, basically just before lockdown started. And so it's a science fiction.
I've read a couple of your books and I really enjoyed them. So
it's good to hear that at least somebody has.
I'm a proper sci-fi fan. So
yeah, so it's set kind of near future where Britain is attempting to colonize other planets, but it's not really allowed to because of all sorts of complicated political stuff. And so then the main character has to kind of fight against both bureaucracy and a lot of danger as well, and a lot of potential alien mystery as well, to establish a British colony on a new planet. And so I bought book 1 out last year. This is book 2. There's so much more to it than that. It's kind of one of these books where there's too much going on to even really. I hate when people ask me what happens in the book, and I'm like, oh, so much.
So much. Just buy it and read it.
So it's Writing in the Sand was the first one. Eyes of the Vanguard is book 2 that comes out next month. And yeah, so at the moment I'm just kind of going through final edits, getting ready for sending that off to the publishers in about 3 weeks' time. All the while trying to get as many green arrows as I can. So it's a bit of a balancing act right now, but I enjoy a good balancing act. I like to keep busy, so yeah.
Oh, no, that sounds brilliant. As I say, I enjoyed the first book, so I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. Just a thank you to Robin Popplewell. I think that's how I say it. Thank you for subscribing, buddy. Your name should be on the bottom of the screen somewhere, so appreciate that very much. If you're new, please do like and subscribe, and there is a link to David's Twitter in the description below as well if you want to go check him out. Okay, David, so I guess we should kind of get into deloading, taking a bit of a relax and a chill. This is what this stream is all about, and reflecting over the game week before. And as always, we start a little bit with the Kings of the Game Week and just go over some of the madness of some of these players that end up getting in this team that nobody has even considered, really. So, Tim Krul, what are your thoughts on that lovely 9-pointer there?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a long time coming. You know, the thing with him is that he's in a very bad defense, but he's a great goalkeeper. And so then, while we're never going to own him, I mean, there was times when he was in the Premier League with Norwich before where I considered him. he was someone I looked at on wildcards, but like not with any real seriousness. Yeah, exactly. But so it's one of those things where I'm not really that shocked to see him get one of these, you know, because he can do it. He's a great goalkeeper, and the beauty of being in a bad defense, of course, is he's going to probably have more saves to make. It's the reason why like Edison and Allison just get 6 pointers, nothing else, because defenses are too good. They don't have many saves to make. So no, if they can ever turn their defense around to the point that they can restrict shots to more than, you know, the 6-yard box and maybe some outside the box, maybe Tim Krul, but don't worry, people, you're not going to need to have him. He's not going to be an essential pick, I would imagine.
Yeah, I had him in my draft team on the bench. Annoyingly.
He's the kind of player that you would have in a draft team as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But on your bench, that's so going.
Yeah, it was a bit gutting, but yeah, just want to say a quick shout out to Projwell. Thank you very much for the subscription, buddy. Okay, so Lorente, bit of an out there one. Is it me, or since Ayling has been injured, do Leeds seem like they're better in defence, annoyingly? Seeing as I was an Ayling owner.
Yeah, the thing with Leeds is that they are capable of keeping a shutout. I mean, they are a team that we saw last season, especially towards the second half of the season, were getting much better for clean sheets, and we would have people like Meslier, and obviously Dallas was what a beast he was last year.
Yeah.
But I am surprised to see it happen this season, because their defence had almost seemingly got worse. In the last 4 matches, they're still in the bottom 3 in the whole league for expected goals conceded. Obviously, the Ayling injury doesn't account for all of those. I sort of suspect that Watford may have played a slight part in that, I guess. I mean, I say that I captained Ismaila Sarr. I kind of felt like this is the week where I'm going to pick someone different and it's going to pay off. But I don't know. I sort of feel like tactically, Bielsa is just at that little bit ahead of I can't remember his name now. But why bother? Because you never I'll be the Watford manager next, you know. So,
yeah, exactly. Could be either of us, buddy. Who knows?
And Watford had done very well, but they played Newcastle and Norwich. So I mean, in a way, whilst I captained a Watford player, I'm not really shocked that Leeds kept a clean sheet, because they do have it in them. Lorente, I can't actually remember his price. I feel like he is someone who had done well for sort of bonus when he was fit last year.
4.5 he is.
4.5, yeah. So I mean, compared to some of the other Leeds defenders, he is cheaper.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I never really like picking Leeds defenders generally, unless they were Dallas, because you just never knew what was going. It's too unpredictable. Too unpredictable for me. Even the centre backs, you never know.
So, my swap this week was Ayling to Rudiger, and as we can see, there are 2 Chelsea defenders in this Kings of the Game Week. However, neither of them are, unfortunately, the most transferred in Chelsea defender, Rudiger's. So Chalobah with 11 and Azpilicueta with 10. Did you have either? And did you see this coming?
Not really. So I nearly went for Christensen. I consider myself really lucky that I didn't go with it, because obviously we all know what happened there. I think Chelsea defence, it makes a lot of sense to be interested in it right now, because on the things like Fantasy Football Scout Season Ticker, if anybody uses that, people will have noticed that their fixtures are really positive, especially for defence. They've got Brentford coming up as well, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley. It makes sense to own one of these guys. In the end, I didn't go for him in the end, because I had a few other problems to solve. And there was just something about Chelsea's defence that I felt like it had been kind of overperforming a little bit. There was a lot of talk last week about doubling up on their defence, which I couldn't consider, really, because in the 4 matches building up to game week 7, Chelsea were in the bottom 4 for expected goals conceded in the whole division, but they hadn't actually conceded that many. It was because they got lucky, people hit the bar, whatever, the goalkeepers made a lot of saves. So them conceding obviously was hugely annoying for a lot of people, unless you had Livramento, of course. That was great.
I did, but he was on my bench.
Oh no! Well, I mean, he was on a lot of people's benches, but some people. That's why you won't. I'm being told now Torres is essential, because he's the way to make sure you get your Livramento points off the bench.
I see. How clever!
It's smart thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, because every time I play him, or the one time that I've played him, it was the one time he didn't do anything. So that's what it's all about, having a player in who doesn't play, so that should have done that with Trent.
Got to break all the rules. You've got to break all the rules for that. But in terms of Azpilicueta, I mean, everyone thought it might be Alonso, and obviously that's not what happened, because we're just not really. That just, to me, sums up why I'm not going to go for a Chelsea defender who's a fullback, probably.
Yeah.
Because I don't even. You get some people say that I've seen some journalists say like the Alonso experiment is over. You know, ones who cover Chelsea. I don't know if it is, because I think he likes to Tuchel, that is, rotate quite a lot. But then again, that's still the reason for me just to kind of steer clear. So Rudiger and Christensen were the only ones I was looking at. Azpilicueta obviously got the big points, and Chalobah, who, let's be honest, is so far under the radar that I don't think anyone should feel too bad about not owning him.
Yeah, it's a proper differential.
He's a fantastic person to own, but I mean, it's just, you never know where he's going to play, so I probably wouldn't go for him. Azpilicueta, of course, has incredible pedigree, so I mean, maybe we shouldn't be shocked. I mean, he was like FPL Defender of the Year about 3 or 4 years ago. So
yeah,
I don't know. Chelsea defence, it makes sense to own because of their fixtures. I have some questions about their defence, and of course, even without that, who is going to be playing every week? Who the hell knows? So at the moment, I'm kind of steering clear. I'm more interested in the Man City defence than the Chelsea defence right now.
Yes, same. Just to point out that Podwell says Livamento's third sub has come on twice for me already this season. Wowzers. Nice.
Well played.
Okay, so Taylor, you know, I think anyone who decided to take a punt against that old Norwich defence there probably, you know, came off tops, but yeah, I'm not sure there would have been many on Burnley defence. Moving on to midfield, Salah doing bits again. I mean, Mo Salah. What can you say that hasn't already been said, David, about Mo Salah? He's just fantastic, isn't he?
That's a hell of a challenge to throw down. What can I say that's never been said about Mo Salah? I've heard he really likes my books.
Oh,
I've heard. It's just. I'm a big fan of his. He's a big fan of mine. As far as I'm aware, no one's ever said that. So I got to
hit you up for a signed book from Mo Salah.
Oh yes, please. That'd be great. Yeah. You did say something that no one has ever said before. That's all else we can say. Because as you alluded to there, he's Mo Salah, isn't he? So
yeah, he is. Yeah, he is different gravy. You know, and he's so good this season. Hodgberg there with his old 10 points in the middle. Gotta love him for a bit of Sky, but you don't often see him making the Kings of the Game Week in FPL, do you really?
No. Oh, no. I mean, a great player, I should add, actually. As I'm a football purist, like many of us are.
Yeah.
And I enjoy a good roll up your sleeves and kick a few people about, and that's Højbjerg in a nutshell. So yeah, fair play, but no, I'm not gonna be signing him, unfortunately.
No, but what about Townsend? I've been touting him for a few weeks now, and he's been doing pretty well, just ticking away there. Have you considered him?
A little bit. I feel a bit annoyed at myself that I wasn't more public in my praise for him when he was at Palace, because I would often look at some of the stats he would post when he was at Palace and be really impressed. But just felt a little bit. The thing is, people may not maybe notice, but obviously I'm not that scout anymore. When I was, there is a pressure sometimes of if you mention unfashionable players, it can blow up in your face because there's a lot more pressure than if you're just not in that job. So there were times when I was impressed with him, but didn't say it publicly, either on Twitter or in an article or in a video. I wish I had now, because then I could go back and get that evidence and show it to people and be like, I'm really pleased for the guy, because whenever I watched him play, I was always impressed. Whenever I saw his stats, always was. The interesting thing is, though, that what I was always really impressed with him at Palace was actually his creativity. I never felt like he was a goal-scoring midfielder for them. I thought he would be like a nice, cheap, kind of ticking along, like a Ryan Fraser type. I mean, that never it didn't consistently turn into points, but he was always promising that for, as I said, creativity. But of course, here he is at Everton, banging in the goals and imitating Cristiano Ronaldo. So, gotta love him.
I think while he was at Palace, having a little chat there with Migtavius, one of my mods of the channel, being a Crystal Palace fan, he was often quite defensive there, even though he had good creativity and stuff like that. He was just always played a bit more kind of track back, get the ball back, that kind of vibe. Whereas I think he's been kind of let off the leash a little bit at Everton and gone, just, you know, do your thing. And it's just really come off there, hasn't it, really?
Yeah. Stats are really good for him as well, in terms of people sometimes look at these types of players and go, is it sustainable? Because he's unfashionable, he's cheap, maybe I shouldn't take a risk. But in the last 4 matches, he's had 6 shots on target. And the only players to have had more shots on target than him in that time are Saar, Ronaldo, Klitsch, Calvert-Lewin, and Salah. So I think that makes him
Klitsch. Wow,
yeah, I know. I mean,
shock.
that was weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
but of course they have to play
weird.
Watford, so
yeah,
I don't know off the top of my head, but they could have all been against Watford for all I know. But you know, Townsend is a like when you have a player that's scoring a lot of chances.
Yeah.
You want to see that they're shooting a lot and that they're shooting a lot accurately.
Yeah.
And because he is doing that, that's why he's scoring the goals. It's not potluck. So anyone who jumps on Townsend for now, it's not a bad decision at all. It could prove to be sound transfer.
I'm kind of between him and Mbeumo at the moment, really kind of like toying between the two. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. So
yeah, both doing well.
Yeah. Okay, and Sonny, last season, anyone who followed me last season as an OG of the channel will know that I had the Sonny 6 because in the time that I had Son at the beginning of the season, I managed to transfer him in and out and miss 6 goals from him. So I then put him in my team and left him there for the rest of the season. And I guess the onus was that he would stay there until he paid back the 6 goals, but he was just so good. I just could never get rid of him out of my team, and he just ended up being there for the rest of the season. I love this guy. Like, I just think he's brilliant, and to see him back in the Kings of the Game Week is pretty spectacular for me. What's your thoughts on Son there, David? Have you considered him?
I haven't at all, to be honest. I've not been that impressed with Spurs across the board yet.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they won't become good at some point. Also doesn't even mean I'm right because I'm just a guy. I'm not necessarily. I'm not.
Oh, I thought you were going to burst into song there.
Well, but Son, I feel like everyone has a painful story about Son. Yeah. That's a bit like yours. So, for example, I didn't have him the week when he scored the 4 goals against Southampton. I had neither him nor Kane. No. And I think my captain blanked, just like so many other people did, and I got buried under a mountain of FPL managers that had all done the same thing. And it was at game week 4 last season, I think it was, and at the end of that game week, I dropped from like 1 million to 4 million.
Ouch!
I clawed it all back in the end. I finished something like 57k in the end, so it was all right. But basically, because of Son, the whole of last season was an uphill struggle from game week 4.
Yeah.
So I've always felt a bit nervous about him, and he's on my radar now. So yeah, we'll see.
I think the kind of good thing this season is that I don't think there'll be anywhere near as much rotation as what we were kind of potentially seeing under Jose. So I think that's probably where Son will come into his own really this season. And Spurs do have some great fixtures coming up from about game week 12 onwards. So he's definitely, and even then I wouldn't necessarily say that, he couldn't score against the likes of West Ham, Man United or Everton, to be honest. So if I was on a wild card this week, I would be seriously tempted by him, I have to admit. And then we move on to the Wolves forwards, and I see you have your boys top in the background there.
He's not even there especially. He's just that shirt lives there.
Just lives there.
Next to Lundstrom.
Mr. Lord Lundstrom. Yeah. Do you have Jimenez in your team? Were you one of the lucky ones?
Of course. Oh, I've had him for a little while. So
nice.
My plan had always been, when I looked at the start of the season, I looked at the fixtures. My plan was game week 4 to get Jimenez, because that's when Aston Villa's fixtures got poorer, so that meant I'd get rid of Ings.
Yeah.
And that is when Wolves fixtures started to get really nice. In the end, it wasn't Ings I sold in game week 4, it was Wilson, because Wilson had that injury. So it just made my life easier. But the plan was always, even from like back far as June, it was like, if Jimenez is fit and he's playing every game, from game week 4, I'm going to sign him in game week 4. So it was like 2 or 3 months in the planning.
In the planning, nice.
I did it, and it obviously didn't pay off straight away, because game week 4, 1 point, then game week 5, 2 points against Brentford, but he came so close. It was right near the end where Traore went on one of those textbook runs down the wing.
I did see
popped
that.
the ball in, and he nodded it literally like that far away from the post.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but it was enough for me to be like, right, fine, I'm definitely keeping him. And then, of course, paid off against Southampton, paid off against Newcastle as well. He seems to be playing like a slightly different role with Hwang in the team. But if he's going to convert those into assists, then I don't really mind, because a 10-point haul in a game like this is exactly what I needed. He's still, at the time that I signed him, he was shooting a lot as well. So going back to why I like to sign players is if they are unleashing a lot of shots on goal and there's a relatively high chance that they are a big chance for a shot on target, then I'm going to be very happy.
Yeah.
As I said, that's sort of somewhat shifted. So in game week 4, he was like in the top 4 for shots in the box, even if he wasn't very accurate. But now Hwang is having more of those shots than he is. So if you are tempted by Wolves, and I would probably actually go with Hwang. If you don't have either, he's the one to get now. But bearing in mind, I already have Jimenez, I'll be holding him. But in terms of what Jimenez is offering creatively, he's created 3 big chances in the last 4 matches, which is the joint second highest in the league. You've only got players like Alexander-Arnold, Fernandes, Mount. Like, they're the players that have created more big chances than him. And of course, they are notoriously, the creative forces in a team. So if he's competing with the likes of them for assist potential right now, then of course he's a good option too.
Yeah.
But as I said, I think if you have neither, you go Hwang, and if you have him in it as well, of course you keep him. So yeah, love him.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a bit nervous going without either, but I'm hoping that my potential transfers this week will free up a bit of cash, and then I may be able to move Richardson, I think is my 3rd striker at the moment, move him up to Hwang. So that's kind of a rough plan at the moment, but yeah, it's that thing where is Hwang nailed now? Has he, like, those 2 goals, has it like sealed him a place, do you think, in the Wolves team? Or do you think there's still maybe a little bit of a rotation risk there?
That's a good question, actually. Well, I mean, I think there is no rotation risk with Jimenez, so I suppose we should swing that back in his favour. I think, if I was the Wolves manager, I'd be starting in the next game. I mean, he's started at, off the top of my head, I can't remember if in game week 5 when he played 45 minutes, if that was from the bench or if he started and came off half time. Obviously, he scored as a substitute against Watford, so I think he's done enough to start again.
To warrant it.
But I suppose actually, you make a good point that if you do have that lingering doubt, then another game week might be what you need to make that decision. Wolves in game week 8 play Villa away, so it's not. I wouldn't exactly say that's like a really easy fixture.
No.
You can probably look at that as a free hit, so to speak. You can afford to not own him for that game because he probably won't be widely owned then anyway, and there's a possible chance that Villa keep him to a low score. So I think you could probably give it another week if you wanted to, if you had that concern.
Yeah, brilliant. That's good actually, because I think my transfer this week will be one of Jota or Greenwood out for either Mbeumo or Townsend, and then moving Shaw onto a City defender, likely Cancelo or Diaz, and then hopefully that would leave me enough money for Hwang the week after if we see him play, which of course by doing that does allow me the week to get to see whether or not he starts or not.
And then he plays Leeds after, who, as I mentioned earlier,
yes,
still have questions about their defence. I mean, obviously they just kept a clean sheet, but you would be very excited about right now having anyone playing against Leeds until that changes, which I'm sure it will, because FPL is all about changing trends. But as we know it right now,
as we know it right now. Cool. Okay, just a couple of shout outs in the chat then before we go on to David's team. And if you would like to get any questions you have for us in the chat, because once we've done David's team, we'll go on to the Q&A, then do get that in for us. So we have Bobby Love. Hey, B Love, hope you're doing well. Robinson, FPL Game Week. Hi, guys. Lord Atrexia, hello there, welcome. Cherise there, Bazman, Glenn Kitely, hope you're all well. Multi Leeville, I think that is, and Migs finally joined us. Yeah, we were talking about you, buddy. And Luxury Lifestyle, welcome all. I hope you're all good. Okay, David, would you like to talk us through your monster team this week? 49 points.
Yeah. 49 points. Well, it was good. for the game week without necessarily being incredible, because I went from something like 250k to 180k. This time of the season, you know, that kind of rank rise is actually quite nice. I think I'm something like 9 points off the top 100k, so I'm very happy with where I am. Someone said when I was talking about this right near the beginning that I can't read the room. You know, the game we've all had. Maybe I should just, you know, be like, oh, sorry guys, I did all right, goodbye. But I mean, the thing is, I had a bit of a slippery start to the season, so I think sometimes I like to be able to sort of talk about if I've had a good game week and a bad one. To just, if anything, kind of like point out to people that a good game week is never very far away, and you don't even necessarily have to do very much about it to get one. I'm someone who's quite patient in my players. I like to use my squad to the full, rather than make transfers, because transfers are precious. You can make as many substitutions as you like, but you obviously are limited to transfers, and you get fine points, etc. So, you know, in like game week 4, you know, I dropped 200k places down to 600k. My game week rank was 4.5 million, and I think that's because I didn't have Ronaldo. I then got Ronaldo for game week 5, but then I've almost just done nothing other than just kind of like tickled my team around the edges to get it ready for these 2 game weeks, when a lot of people have made changes, and it's kind of paid off. So, you know, I did nothing with my team in game week 6 and got like 60 points. Then all I did this time around was just spend a bit of money in the bank to get Simicast to Semedo, when a lot of people were like going big on Chelsea. And to be fair, people were unlucky. If you captain Lukaku, you were unlucky this week because he really should have scored. But
thank you, David. I appreciate that. I feel better about myself now.
Yeah, it was bad luck. It's variance at its finest, because you know, he hit the post, and I think someone hit the post from him hitting the post, so denying him an assist as well. So I will fully admit I got lucky. But in terms of players that I've kept patience with, I mean, obviously Jimenez is one of them. You know, he had a bit of a sluggish start to his so-called return to fantasy, you know, life. You know, Rafinha was a player who had a few injury doubts, and people weren't sure he was going to start, and I was prepared just to take the risk, and that, I mean, didn't pay off this week, but has paid off in weeks before. Really what basically helped me have a good game week here was Jimenez recovered, Salah as well. It didn't damage me too much not owning it, but was, in the end, it was a Brighton defence. This is why I feel not lucky, but I kind of looked at my team and I kind of felt, am I willing to play a double Brighton defence, or would I rather maybe sell Digne and get Alonso? And I had 2 free transfers for this game week. I only used 1, so it means I've got 2 for the next one. And I just felt like I don't fancy the Chelsea defence as much as other people do, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Who I really want is a Man City defender, and there's no way I'm signing a Man City defender ahead of Liverpool. So I'd like to make sure that I've got at least 2 transfers next time round to basically get Diaz in for Digne, but then also maybe do something else with the rest of my team, because I need to get Shaw needs to go as well. He's got to go. So there's a number of defenders that need to go. So I just sort of had a bit of faith in the Brighton defence, because their defensive stats had been decent enough, and I've not been very impressed with Arsenal. And 12 points, it's not very much, but it was enough to seal that green arrow. So I can't really be too unhappy.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's, as you say, it's such fine margins this week. I think just the difference of you having Jimenez and Duffy over, you know, somebody like myself really has, just getting mine up on the screen here, has just made, you know, the difference really. So I had a big drop this week, and it's, you know what, like, I look at my team and I don't hate it. And so I think the biggest issue was if I just captained Salah and I had played Livramento, or if I'd kind of stuck to the plan, which was probably doing Shaw to Rudiger and then playing Livramento. I just didn't really want to play like 2 defenders in the same match, and we were hearing that Shaw was likely to start, so I thought, you know, edge my bets a little bit there. But if I just captain Salah and I play Livramento, I'd be on a green arrow, and that's literally the difference of
also,
it.
Lukaku, Rudiger, you'd have thought you'd have got, if someone had said like deadline, it showed you your team and my team, and it was like, you know, Rudiger and Lukaku captained as well versus my Jimenez and Duffy. Most people would have put good money on you getting more points out of that double up, those 2 players than me. So you can't beat yourself up too much about that.
No, trying not to.
It's difficult, I'm sure, but
and anyone who likes the kit, then I will leave the description in the description below. Sorry, I will leave the link in the description below. Hello. Had a bit of a malfunction there, David. For you guys to, yeah, it was looking at my team again. I was like, oh God. Yeah, so, okay, let's move on then to the questions for this week. And I'll just go back on to, in fact, I'll go to the transfers because that way any questions that come up, I can discuss it. And yeah, so we've got a few people. Multi-Lever says, David, thoughts on going 3 at the back rather than double Chelsea defence with TAA, Cancelo and Azpilicueta, Duffy and Livramento on the bench?
That sounds pretty solid, to be honest. I think if I was wildcarding right now, which I'm not, and I'm not even really thinking about it, I'm probably going to do it another time. But if I was going to do it now, then yeah, it's great option there. I mean, like I talked about this actually I do the FPL game week with like Llama and Boona and Matt every Monday, and we had the should I double up on Chelsea defence question last Monday, and basically I said no then. They obviously then conceded again, and half the people we thought would start didn't. So then now I hope it's kind of obvious that it was the right call to not double up in Chelsea defence. So then agree with you on that. You know, in terms of who you've got there from Chelsea, I think they would be someone I would look at. TAA, I think will be fine and will be back soon. In terms of his chance creation, he has created 18 chances in his last 4 matches. That's the most of any player. He's created 4 big chances. Again, the joint most of any player. So anyone who's selling him because he's got a little bit of a niggle ahead of an international break when he could come back, it's madness to me. Utter madness to me. Then Duffy, is a great option. I've had him, I think, since game week 3. I think so I don't have Livramento yet. I probably should have Livramento at this point, but I don't. But when I had the opportunity to get a defender of that price, I did go Duffy because I felt that Brighton's defence is superior in my opinion. Don't
be lying to me. You know it's also that you could just use the GIF, the old Duff Man GIF. Come on, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm all about the memes, as you know. So that's exactly what it was. Exactly. But it's a meme that has good stats as well, which is fantastic. So
of course.
Brighton last 4 matches, they're the second best in the league, or second lowest, I should say, for XGC. Southampton's where are they? I can't find them now. They're in the bottom 5, although they have just played Chelsea. Duffy as well is quality when it comes to his attacking returns as well, because he's just always popping up in the box. Just trying to find it now. I can't find it off the top of my head now. Yeah, but when I signed him, I think he'd had like 7 shots in the box in 3 games or something.
It was crazy the first few weeks because I was like, do I need this guy in my team? Like his stats are ridiculous.
Yeah, they really are. So Duffy is so good. I mean, if someone had said to me right now, you've got to own one of Duffy or Livramento, I know that Livramento is the popular person, but I'm not really swayed by that. Duffy's the man. Oh, sorry, Duff Man is the man. So,
Duff Man.
So those 5 players mentioned there, that's a solid back 5 that I would very much be thinking about for a wildcard if I had one.
Yeah, just thoughts on that then. There are a lot of people getting off of Sanchez on a wild card and looking at the likes of, you know, Ramsdale or so forth. As from an Arsenal perspective, I said this last week, I can't quite get over the fact that I feel like if we were to have 1 or 2 bad games, Ramsdale could potentially lose his place to Leno again. I just feel like there's that kind of, unlike in Sanchez's case, I don't think there's really anybody who would really kind of challenge him if things were going poorly. Whereas I do feel like with Ramsdale, there is a potential that if things were to go off the cliff a little bit and our defence took a turn for the worst again, that I feel like, I feel like Arteta could feel like he needs to do something about that and then start using Leno again. So if you were on a wild card this week, would you be tempted to sell Sanchez or would you just stay as you are?
No, I think I'd keep Sanchez for many of the reasons you just mentioned there. Like there isn't really anyone else that's going to come in. I mean, in a way, maybe it depends on who your second goalkeeper is, because obviously Man City and Liverpool are coming up. But the thing is, you'd like to think he's going to make a ton of saves in those games.
Yeah.
So you could maybe be looking at like a 2 or 3 pointer, which for me that's not worth getting rid of what I think is a good option 4. I don't really think you can make up too many points in that 2-week period, because then after that they play Newcastle at home, Villa away, Leeds at home, West Ham away, Southampton away. Like, they've got some pretty solid fixtures like after those games. So I would just hold on. I think Brighton's defence is going to be more consistent than Arsenal's defence. I think as an Arsenal fan, you probably know that more than anyone.
Yeah. I think Tomiyasu's made a massive difference to our defence. And actually, I think either him or White are potentially a great shout for a cheap defender with some of the fixtures that we have at the moment. But I think I'm still a little burnt by, previous years, and it's not that I don't want to say they're not good assets. It's just that I think I'm more cautious to wait a little while longer on them and really kind of make sure that I'm happy we are definitely settled there before piling in.
Your new guy, he wouldn't be the first Arsenal defender to come in, look good for 3 games, transform the team, and then it all just drop off a cliff again. Like, how many times have we seen that? So
yeah. Cheers, thanks for reminding me.
Sorry.
Okay, Colm says, I'm thinking of swapping out Antonio for either Bamford or Iheanacho in a few weeks, maybe week 13. Am I mad?
Well, I mean, if we're only basing it on just one question, I feel like we don't have enough to know. We have no idea what his favourite colour is, or whether or not he likes green bathrooms or anything like that. So who knows, really? I can't answer the mad question.
If you're anything like myself and David, then yes, you're mad. We'll probably just leave it there on that bit. But
you enjoy FPL. You enjoy FPL enough to watch a stream about it on a Monday afternoon. So maybe you are mad, but maybe there's no shame in that.
We're all mad here.
Yeah, exactly. We might as well be wearing big hats and drinking tea in the woods with the Cheshire Cat. West Ham's fixtures are tough. They are tough, so I can understand where that would come from. There's something about Antonio that I want to hold on to him for, because he kind of just has the ability, I think, to have kind of universal, long-lasting appeal. When I think it was last season, West Ham's first 6 or 7 games of the season were really, really awful.
Yes.
So then just nobody had West Ham players at all, just on purpose, just from the beginning of the season. Like, there's no one going anywhere near those fixtures because they were all in one go. I'm pretty sure in the first 7 he scored 4 goals, because he doesn't care. He just does not care who he's playing against. And this West Ham team is really good. It's better than it was. Everyone in that team has improved. He's improved. I think he's fitter than he was as well. He is a player who basically helps that team be really good from a counter-attacking perspective. That isn't the only thing they're good at, but it's something they are quality at, because he's fast. The players around him can pass the ball well and have good legs as well. And they've got players who can win the ball back and turn the game on a sixpence in, the drop of a hat, in players like Rice and Soucek. So when you look at that fixture difficulty ranking and you see Everton, Spurs, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea in the next, kind of 8-9 game weeks, I look at those games and feel like they're going to be teams that will play a higher line, just based purely on the fact that they're going to want more possession than West Ham in those games. I think West Ham will happily let them have possession, in the knowledge that Soucek and Rice can bite in the midfield, win the ball back, play some balls out wide, or play some balls through the middle. Antonio can hold it up really well because he's one of the strongest players in the Premier League, and I think he'll still get returns. So while there will be it might be possible that there will be players that outscore him by a little bit in that period. Yeah, I sound like a broken record. Transfers are really, really precious, and I don't like getting rid of players who I hold in high esteem, and he is absolutely one of them. So personally, I'd probably hold him, but I mean, let's see where we are when that game week 13-14, I think it was the suggested time frame. Yeah, let's see how he gets on in the next few weeks. But my suspicion is we may still want to hold on to him for quite some time.
Absolutely agree. And I'm sat here with Ben Rama as well, and I'm kind of going, I've been really itchy on him the last few weeks. I've been like, do I really need this guy, or do I really want this guy in my team anymore? But I just feel like it's the sort of thing where I want a bit more time with both of them to really decide on that, because it just feels like in every game there's still an opportunity that either one of them can that can haul. As long as Antonio looks after his cheese strings, he'll be fine. He just needs to look after his cheese strings and he'll be fine. And we'll be happy, I think, to keep hold of him, because we've made some decent cash on him if you got on him early like I did, and probably David did. So You know,
since game week 1. So
yeah, same. So you know, maybe just keep hold for now and reassess. I mean, he's at a really great price point as well, so you're not going to struggle to find an alternative should you find in the next couple of weeks, you know, that it's not growing great. Hey, we have Mr. L Fozzle in the chat. Mr. Fozzie, how you doing, buddy? Chris, what you're saying? What you're saying? Monday on a Monday. Just spotted this. Love it.
That's exactly the kind of joke that he loves. It's the kind of joke I love as well. So we have very similar sense of humour. Very
true. He says, Sun is a great pick. Depends what you sacrifice elsewhere. That is very true. It's like I said at the beginning of the season, when I was thinking about getting Sonny in, it was like, can I get 2 players for Sun's price? And not, you know, not exactly that, but it did make me sway my decision to not getting him at the beginning of the season. So you are right, really there, especially at the moment with so many good priced players, right? So many cheap priced midfielders that are just smashing it out of the park. I think, yeah, you know, when you weigh that up, then you really got to think about whether you want to invest that amount of money. And I guess that kind of goes for Vardy as well. What's your thoughts on Vardy, Monday? He's been kind of flying under the radar. My mum has him in her team every year. If she doesn't have Aguero, then she has Vardy, and sometimes she you know, she would have both of them. But of course, we know Aguero now. It's Vardy all the way. So and she captained him as well on the weekend. Nice. Well, she captains him most weekends, to be fair. So consistency is key with this game, right? And he is delivering that in spades.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm really happy because I don't own him at all. But one of the streams I did at the start of the season with Lama and Boona and Matt, I said that I think he could be one of the players that kind of flies under the radar, which is what he's doing now, because of the way that Leicester would have to change their formation again once that Barnes was back. Yeah. When Barnes got injured, they had a situation where they had to play 3-5-2 because they basically just didn't have any balance. They didn't have enough wingers, like actual proper wingers, to play a system that had wingers. So they had to use the fullbacks to provide the width. And all of that is why Iheanacho came into the team. It wasn't even necessarily because Iheanacho had been playing well. It was just like, well, 3-5-2 is the only formation we can build with the back 8. So if we're going to have 2 strikers, Iheanacho will come in. And then that made Vardy play like kind of quite wide. He would play on the left quite a lot, and then Iheanacho would score the chances. And the question was, what impact will Barnes have on Iheanacho when he comes back? And pre-season sort of suggested that they would go back to a formation that only needed 1 striker. And so then I said, if that 1 striker is Vardy and he doesn't have Iheanacho in the team anymore, he is going to be back to his best, because we know that when he is the focus of the team and he's put through the middle and he's given the opportunity to play on the last shoulder of the defender, he's going to score goals, and that's what he's doing. And the thing is, obviously Iheanacho started this most recent game and you know, got involved as well. So did Vardy. So I just think that him having that run in the team where he has been the focal point has really helped his confidence, because I think he was a bit out of sorts. He was getting really unlucky at the end of last season. So it's quite nice. It's quite nice because I picked him out as a bit of a differential pick for people to go for. Didn't go for him because I didn't have the stones for it. But anyone who did follow my advice presumably assumes I'm a much now. So thank you very much, Jamie. I'll buy you a pint next time I'm in Leicester.
I'll just pretend my mum did that. All for you.
Notoriously one of my number 1 fans.
Of course. Yeah, 13.8% owned. So, so, you know, he's, yeah, you know, those 13.8% are just rolling in happiness, really, aren't they? Okay, so we have, where was I on the old chat? Prodwell is waiting for Tierney to return. Just not been worth it going for him ahead of White or Tomiyasu at the moment. Tiger says definitely mad. Nathan says wildcard time. Yeah, there's a fair few people on wildcards this week. Prodwell says Ben Rama out, maybe Antonio, no way unless he gets injured. Okay, GCND says Cancelo or Diaz. Can we split the 2 of them?
Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. Cancelo getting a yellow card on the weekend.
Yeah, I was mostly. I think Diaz did as well, actually.
Did he? I missed that one.
Yeah, I think so. I was watching it with some mates, and he had Diaz, and he was like, "Oh, brilliant! Of course."
Oh yeah, he did.
In the week that,
we really can't
everyone was
split them
having, just a yellow card for Diaz. This was just, well, of course, comes with the territory. I don't know yet. This is the simple answer. Sorry if people were looking for something more meaty than that. I think it. So I can't remember if this is exactly right, but I'm pretty sure I read something that Neil wrote for Scout about a week ago, where he pointed out that Cancelo actually had a better points per match than Diaz since they were both at City. But of course, Diaz is going to play more, so it just kind of depends what you're after. If you're the type of manager that's going to have a team and you're happy to kind of make minimal changes for like a 10 to 12 week period and show faith in the players that you've got. And in the situations when Cancelo doesn't play, let's say Livramento comes off your bench and gets you a little something, or any of the 4.5 million midfielders if you've got the right one.
That's the way to play it now. Remember, that's what you said.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, the way to play this game is to bench Livramento, and presumably one of your players won't play, and he can come in. So if you're that kind of player that's happy to kind of like take a 12-week period and say, well, I want to score maximum points over a long period, then Cancelo will probably do that because, of course, he is just more likely to get assists, goals. He's on some set pieces. He can play in midfield. He has all that going for him. But if you're the kind of player that really struggles to cope with the highs and lows, I suppose, 17 point one week, none the next, or, 1 point or whatever. If you struggle with that, then maybe Diaz is the kind of person you want to go for. I mean, of course, he will provide consistency over a long period as well. Yeah. If you're just looking at a short period, maybe 4 weeks, it is possible that Diaz will outscore Cancelo in that period if Cancelo maybe gets benched for 2 of them, which is not out of the realms of possibility. So yeah, sorry, I've like completely not answered that question. I've said if you're this type of manager, go for this guy, this kind of manager, go for that one, because the bottom line at the end of the day is if you're not having any fun, why bother? So go with whichever player suits your brand of fantasy decision making, and stick with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And to be honest, it could just come down to us being as simple as, do you need the extra 0.1 at the moment? Because Cancelo is,
yeah,
0.1 more. I think he has an extra assist over Diaz, but yeah, it is what it is. If you're wildcarding now, you're likely to be getting a few bench players that can cover, the odd Cancelo benching. So I'd probably lean towards him if I was looking at the 2, but if you like the safety and you don't want to have to worry about it, as David said, then Diaz is, is kind of there and doing his thing for you. Okay. Suarev says Tony or Mbeumo on Wildcard. So I was definitely one of the ones that started with Tony in my team at the beginning of the season. Were you one of those people, David?
No, I was not.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to emphatically bat that question away. I had Callum Wilson, who actually outscored Ivan Toney in the first 3 to 4 game weeks. I think it was 3 games, wasn't it?
It was.
That wasn't the same as a bad player.
Have a love-hate relationship.
It wasn't. He was a bad player. I don't really like owning that sort of player at the start of the season. I mean, I've been proved wrong before because for example, I seem to remember. You remember when Pookie started really well? I was on the FPL show for the game week 1 of that season, and Jules had Pookie in her team, and I was like, "Whoa, I don't know about that." And then cut to literally the next day, and it was like, "Oh, Pookie scored at Anfield," and I was like, "Oh, this looks such a mug." It's taken a little bit of time with Tony, but so I think he's a good option now. As I said at the start of the season, it was more just because. So I went Wilson, Ings, and I can't even remember now. That's how long ago it was. But I went for Antonio, of course, Antonio. I never have to think about him in my team because he's just non-negotiable. He's a piece of furniture. The point was I went for 3 strikers that were similarly priced. I didn't like the idea of having Tony and then him not hit the ground running and then have to upgrade to an Antonio or an Ings or something. But when you're on a wild card and you've got, 7 weeks of data and eye tests, then I think he's definitely worth looking at now. In terms of who you go with, him versus Mbeumo, it is tough because I think they both offer like really great value. I guess it just comes down to what type of player you want in a way, because interestingly enough, it kind of looks like Tony has taken on more of the kind of like creative responsibilities of that front pairing. He's creating more chances than Mbeumo, and Mbeumo is shooting more than him. So I think he's cheaper and he's midfielder. He's going to score more points for the stuff that he's doing. So if you can find a place for that type of midfielder, then I think he's kind of the obvious one. But if you find your midfield's a bit busy and there aren't too many strikers you like, then Tony's not a bad option. So hard pressed to make a decision. I would probably go in Mbeumo, but they're both good.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, they. I think I'm likely siding with Mbeumo just for the outer position and, you know, him being a bit cheaper, but I don't disagree with, you know, if you want a third striker, then, you know, Tony's right up there as a potential for that. Okay, JCND says Cancelo, Diaz or Azpilicueta. So I guess our question, or mine, David's question, throwing back to you there, JC, is do you already have a Chelsea defender? Because I think I'm on the kind of road as David, where I'm not really in the wanting to double up on them camp, and I've kind of been like that for a little while. So I think if you've already got a Chelsea defender, then, you know, we'd probably say one of the City. Is that right, David?
Yeah, I as I've said for a couple of weeks now, I do just prefer this Man City defense to the Chelsea one. Their defensive stats just look a lot more encouraging for me, which is always the bedrock of whether or not I'm going to sign a defender. So I'll probably go with one of them. I mean, Azpilicueta is not a bad option though, as we saw in the last game. He's 3 assists in his last 4 appearances. He's only not started on 1 occasion. So if you're looking for people who can beat the what's it called, the Tuchel tombola, then
Yeah.
you know, he's you know, maybe one of them reliable cans of, you know, like chickpeas that you get at a tombola. Nothing too exciting, but will tick along. So yeah, he's not a bad option, but I think, yeah, if I had to get one of those 3, it would be one of the City ones. Yeah,
and I think you can reconsider then a little bit down the line. The only thing that would potentially sway me for an extra City defender would be that Norwich fixture in game week 9. That's the only thing that's kind of, you could see Azpilicueta just go in big bins there, couldn't you? So yeah, that's the only one that's kind of, I guess, making me a little bit itchy on the double up. But long term, I think I'd prefer to, I guess, just spread my cost out a little bit and my teams out a little bit and go with a City and a Chelsea and edge my bets. Okay, Multi-Lev says, at David, Raya, Gunn, Trent, Azpilicueta, Shaw, Duffy, Livramento, Salah, Benrahma, Grealish, Rafinha, Gilmore, Jimenez, Antonio, Lukaku with 0.1 in the bank. Best way to get Cancelo and Foden. Who should I sell?
Oh, wow.
Wow. It's really difficult when people ask this, but especially when you can't see the team, isn't it? You're like, All right, here we go.
I found this question in the chat, so I'm gonna. This is like an episode of Countdown now, when they ask you to, like, you know, do a quick bit of maths. Yeah. I'll have a consonant, please, Carol. So
hang on a second.
Yeah, if you could just pull out a consonant, that'd be great. Thank you. And Foden, interested in Foden. Okay. Well, I guess Grealish to Foden is probably doable. 7.9 to oh no, the same price. Okay, well then there we go. It's possibly doable.
Are they the same price? Wow.
Yeah, 7.9. I'm still operating on last season because I haven't looked at Man City at all. So I've really, in terms of midfield and attack, it's only been.
I did not know they were the same price. I gotta be honest with you.
But I mean, I don't know. I kind of go back to what I said about Man City players before. I think if you're going to invest in these types of players, like for example, anyone who had Torres, I think you have to be ready for them to not play 1 week. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wouldn't want to have Grealish and Foden. So if you want to get Foden, then I think you would be selling Grealish. But then I've got to be honest, I feel that's like a bit of a much of a muchness. They're basically, in my opinion, the same type of player. Then yeah, but Cancelo, I would say is worth getting. So you've got Shaw there. You've got 0.1 in the bank. So if you did Shaw to Cancelo, you're probably, how short? Because he's 5'4" now. Cancelo is 6'2", so you'd need like 0.8 somewhere. Well, to be honest, I'd probably get rid of Grealish.
How you can do this in your brain, buddy? I have no idea.
This was every week on the FPL show, so you know I'm used to it. Grealish to like a 7.1. got Rafinha already, so you wouldn't want to get him. I mean, I've got Gallagher at the moment. I really like. Well, he's not got Mbeumo, has he? So if you did Grealish to Mbeumo and then you did Shaw to Cancelo, if you're prepared to take a hit, if you haven't got the 2 free transfers, maybe that's how you do it. If you do that, right, and it comes off, then at me on Twitter and let me know. I want to know, because to have done that on the spot and it to pay off, I'll be very proud. So
yeah, well done. Like maths, I'm like, oh, like I literally had the whole meme in my head there with that guy who's got all the numbers going around in his head. So that was just David right there in a package. Okay, cool. And Portugal says Zinchenko might be back after the international break. It's either Rudiger and Cancelo, or Diaz and Azpilicueta / James Chilwell Alonso.
It's Man City Chelsea defender o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah,
everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, I don't think you could go wrong with either of those, really. It's just kind of personal preference, really. I think it's kind of like what David was saying earlier with the whole, what kind of FPL player are you? I mean, do you want to go maybe with Azpilicueta for the upside of him over potentially Cancelo, because Azpilicueta's probably got more upside than Cancelo possibly does. So it really just depends on the type of player you are and where you want to attack it. All right, guys. Well, I did say to David that we can keep him much longer than 6 because he does have another stream this evening. So yeah, do you want to tell people what's the name of your book, David, and where can we find you as well? Because we did talk about your book, but you didn't actually say what the name was. So,
I'm an idiot because I forgot to get it off my bookshelf.
Okay, I'll just shout out some new people while you do that. Stan is in the chat. Welcome. And Pedroza's in the chat. And Chris is in the chat. Welcome all. Sorry if we didn't get around to answering your questions. Okay, David, go.
There we go. Right. So this is book 1, Writing in the Sand, which is already out, which you can get on Kindle for 99p right now on Amazon. It's on sale because... and so I'm going to put the link for that in the chat now. That's where you can find like both books. It's like a series page. My wife is a legend because the proof copy for book 2, so as in like it's basically done, it just needs proofing. That literally arrived in the post about 20 minutes after the stream started, and I texted her saying, if it comes, can you just slip it in my study? And you haven't noticed, you haven't noticed at all that she slipped in with this flipping massive book and just put it on my table. So it's got a big like thing on it that says like not for resale, but if I hold it back slightly, that is book 2. It's quite a long one. It's about 600 pages. That one comes out on October 26th. It's called Eyes of the Vanguard. And so you can pre-order it now on Kindle. The paperback version will be available soon-ish.
Just in time for international break.
Got to prove this. Exactly. International breaks and books, they go hand in hand. So that was what I was thinking. It's kind of half term for me as well. So I get some time off my real job now, which is just working at the newspaper. So yeah, if you're interested in sci-fi, check it out. I'll put the link in the description. And you'll make me a very happy person if you if you either share it or buy a copy or whatever. So yeah, that's the selfish plug done. So I'm happy to hand back over to you to
Where can I find you on Twitter though, buddy? I do have it in the description below, but
Yeah, so it's David Monday 815 on Twitter if you want to follow me on there. So yeah.
And you're on the which stream this evening? Sorry, was it with Boona and
FPL Game Week? It used to be called like the Llama Lounge, and I think some people still call it that, kind of informally, but it's called the FPL Game Week now with Llama, Boona, and Matt. So you can find me there. That's my regular gig these days. Now that I don't do Scout anymore, and I'm just kind of back in traditional media. I just want to keep my FPL hobby alive, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to come on the stream with you. To be honest, was just to make sure that people
here anytime.
Didn't forget who I was. So.
You know that, but we've had some great times over the years, and I must say to everyone that David, from the very beginning when I set out on Twitter and YouTube and things like that, has been a very big supporter and inspiration for me, and really helped me out along the way. So it's an absolute privilege to to come full circle, you know, and actually have you on the show. And I know you've been on the Wildcats with me, but it's actually nice to have you on, you know, my personal channel. So I really appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, if you have enjoyed the stream, please do like and subscribe. Do one of these streams almost every week, and it's usually with FPL reactions. But, you know, if he can't make it, then I get somebody to stand in, like the lovely David today. And I will be taking a little break, I think, this week, and I'll come back next week with my game week video and my FPL 5 things with Fergie as well ahead of game week 8. So I hope you're all doing brilliantly, and if you're wildcarding, I hope it goes really well. It's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from David.
Hi guys, yeah, thanks for having me again. And anytime someone can't turn up, just give me a buzz and I'll be there.
Will do. I will hold you to that. Okay, guys, green arrows. Bye, guys.